Alrighty guys, welcome to Reselling 101 Part 3. Alrighty guys, so you've signed up for whatever account that you plan on reselling on. You've gathered all the supplies that you're going to need to ship out your first item. So now it's time to get listing. My husband and I are full-time resellers. My name is Natalie and I'm teaching you guys reselling from the very beginning. If this is the first time you're seeing me, go back to Reselling 101 Part 1 and start from there, you guys. I'm offering all the tips and tricks that I know to be a successful reseller, all for free. All you have to do is subscribe. My husband and I, of course, do this full time. We do sell clothing and hard goods. In this episode, you guys, I'm going to show you guys how to list on eBay. With that does come shipping. I know a lot of people have questions over shipping, and I'm hopefully going to answer a few of those questions that you have in this video, so let's get into it. Alrighty guys, you're at the point where you're ready to list. You've got your items, whether you got them from a thrift store or got them from a yard sale or even the trash. We ended up finding this super cool Jeep in a trash can at a local thrift store here in town. You guys, they just had it setting up on top of the dumpster. Check it out. I'll show you a picture. But they literally had this Jeep sitting on top of the dumpster. We're going to list it on eBay and flip it online for a profit, and we got it for free. You can drive around town and find items for free. You can have family members give you items that they no longer want, and you can list them on eBay to flip them for a profit. The best items to start with as a beginner reseller are items in your own home. So you can look around the house and kind of pick out items that you no longer want or use and go ahead and list them. That can be shoes, clothing, your kids' old toys. It's really up to you. Decor pieces. The list is endless, honestly. You'd be surprised at what sells on eBay. So I did photograph some clothing today. I batch photograph, so that means I photograph for about 2 hours at a time, and then I sit down throughout the week and list those items. So I always have items to list whenever I have some downtime. I'll link my reselling clothing video so you guys go and watch that, so you can get an idea of how to start reselling clothing. All right, guys, now we're going to start listing. We're going to start with this Dungeons and Dragons hoodie. I picked this up from Goodwill for $7. I do use my phone to list. You can use your computer, but I do prefer my phone. I'm going to show you guys on the screen step by step how I'm going to list this item, and I usually start with eBay. Whenever I am looking up clothing, I like to use Google Lens. You're going to click that camera icon, and basically you're going to take a photo or use a photograph that you took earlier on in the day to look up this item. We are doing the Dungeons and Dragons hoodie, so I'm going to start out with doing the front of the hoodie, but you guys, I'm going to end up having to do the back side just because this front of the hoodie just doesn't bring up that much information. The back of this hoodie is so much more detailed. Google Lens is going to pick it up with no problem just because it's just more graphic than the front. And here's a listing on eBay. This is one that I'm going to click, and I'm going to copy that title, and then I'm going to take that title and paste it into the eBay app. That's going to bring up all the active listings that are within that title or have keywords that are in that title. So you could tell it's not all of the same hoodie that I'm looking for, but I'm going to go up where it says filter, scroll down, and I'm going to click sold and completed. This is going to show me which ones have sold in the last 90 days on eBay. This is the important part whenever you're picking up items to flip online for a profit. Make sure you are checking what they are selling for, not what a seller has it listed for. We don't care what it's listed for. You want to know what it's selling for. This hoodie sold for $29.95 on January 1st, so I'm going to go up and click that listing because I'm going to use that as my own listing. Whenever I list items on eBay, I like to use the feature Sell Similar. So right here, you're going to click Sell One Like This. The great thing about the Sell One Like This feature is everything's already imported for you. You just have to use your own pictures and change any details that differ from this listing, which is usually the size and condition sometimes, just depending on if yours is in better or worse. Make sure you change the details. You want the buyer to know exactly what they're getting. First thing you're going to do is make sure you edit your photos. I go ahead and crop out all the excess of this curtain in my photos just so they look better. I have a new white background that's getting delivered this week, so I'm excited to use that whenever I photograph clothing. It's going to make this process seem so much easier. I'm not going to have to go through and crop out most of this curtain. Next up, you're just going to change any details in that title. I do usually leave the title unless I want to add a word or two, but I'm just going to change the size of this sweatshirt. Make sure the category is correct, condition is pre-owned, and now you're going to go into item specifics and change any details. So I'm going to change the size. Always double check this section. You just want to make sure it matches your item, and you can always fill in the extras that the other person or other seller didn't fill in. But we're going to go ahead to custom SKU. This is located at the very bottom of item specifics. This is where I put where my item is located, the date that I listed it, and how much I paid for it. This makes sure that you keep everything organized and that you don't lose the item in your inventory, because when an item sells, you want to make sure you know where it's located. This also helps you keep track of how long you've had the item in your inventory and how much you paid for it. Staying organized when it comes to reselling is a key to success. The next section is the description. I like using the AI description. It's going to take all the information that you put into item specifics into this paragraph. Make sure you proofread because it has made some mistakes. The description is also where I put all the measurements that I took whenever I photographed the items, so make sure you keep that in the description. I highly suggest adding measurements to your listings. This is going to help the buyer know if the item is going to fit or not, and they'll be more confident in buying your item. Pricing is where a lot of new sellers struggle, and here's a couple tools that you can use. So you can use this medium sold price, look through this and base your price off that. I usually price slightly higher than this price here because I want to make sure that I leave enough room whenever we promote and sell items or run a sale. I don't want to price on the lower end because I'm just going to cut myself out of some profits. All of our listings are buy it now with offers turned on. Alrighty guys, we're at the shipping portion of listing this hoodie right here. So I'm going to show you how I would import the measurements. When it comes to shipping on eBay, we do use eBay's calculated shipping. Whenever we create our listings, all we have to do is make sure we have the correct measurements and weight, and eBay will calculate the shipping based on the distance between us and the buyer. To make sure that you are not costing yourself in shipping costs, the two most important things if you watch my video prior to this is to make sure that you have a measuring tape and some type of scale. I have a Royal. I got mine from Sam's Club about 3 or 4 years ago. It still works. It works for us. You can get these on Amazon, Walmart, really. They're pretty much anywhere. Ours weighs up to 110 pounds, but you can get ones that weigh up to 50. It's really up to you and what you plan on picking up to resell. So once I am done photographing the clothing, I guesstimate just because I've done it for so long. So I know whenever I import the measurements for this item here, it's going to be 15 by 12 by 6. Now this is just a basic measurement for a sweater or sweatshirt of this size. Every time I have a sweater or sweatshirt, it's going to be 15 by 12 by 6. I'm going to show you what the measurements are. If you're a beginner reseller, you're going to want to do this whenever you are done photographing the item, and go ahead and write it down under the list of all your measurements so that when you go to do the shipping, you have that information to import so you're not guessing. But the longer you do it, you're going to get good at guesstimating what the measurements are because you're going to overweigh and overmeasure by a couple inches and pounds, or a pound or inch, just depending on what the item is. So this Dungeons and Dragons is 12 inches by 10 by 3 or 4 inches. So we're going to go back into shipping and I'm going to import measurements for this, and I'm going to put 15 by 12 by 6 even though it was 12 by 10 by 3 or 4. By over measuring and overweighing slightly, it's going to give me enough cushion if I were off by a measurement or two. It's not going to cost me anything because I have that cushion there when it comes to the measurements and the weight. When it comes to weight, I do usually add a pound or two just depending on what type of clothing item it is. I would say this sweatshirt weighed 3 pounds. Let's see how much it weighs. So it actually weighs 1 pound, 2.7 ounces. So you would round up to 2 pounds. I said this item weighed 3 pounds whenever I created the listing. So whenever it sells, you're going to go into the shipping page on eBay and you're going to adjust shipping measurements to 12 by 10 by 4. That's going to give you a little excess in shipping costs to help cover the poly bag that you're using and the other poly bag that I ship in. That is the main reason that we overmeasure and overweigh slightly, is to help cover the cost of shipping materials. You just don't want that coming out of your pocket. More often than not, you do make a little bit on shipping, but it's not a whole lot. You don't want to overdo it because that can cost you a sale. So if you are over measuring and overweighing too much, the shipping cost is going to be outrageous and it's going to be harder for a buyer to purchase your item. It's slightly just overweighing and over measuring. Don't go crazy with it. When it comes to jeans, it's pretty common. I do 15 by 12 by 5, and that's going to cover your jeans for you. Same thing if I had shorts about this size, 15 by 12 by 5, and that's going to cover jeans, shorts, men's, women's. Those measurements are going to work for all those types of clothing items. And it's the same thing with sweatshirts. I do 15 by 12 by 6 just because they're a little wider, so you want to account for that. When I do have larger items such as coats or vests like this here, you can tell it's in one of my larger poly bags. This one, the measurements are usually 17 by 15 by either 6 or 8, just depending on the thickness of the item itself. So those are my common measurements for clothing items. Back into our listing, we're going to edit the shipping. So I'm going to put this item at 3 pounds and it's going to be 15 by 12 by 6. Like I said, you guys, I do over measure and overweigh by a couple inches or a couple pounds. This part should be simple now because you already have your shipping policy set up like I showed you in Reselling 101 Part 1. Now you guys, we're going to go ahead and go to our promoting button. We do always promote our items between 5 to 7%. So you're going to toggle that on. eBay will give you a suggested percentage rate. We never go with what eBay suggests. I always start out at 5% and then slowly increase it the longer the item is listed. And then you just click list your item. That is how you list an item on eBay. All right, guys, next up, we're going to list this Tonka Jeep. We got this out of the dumpster for free, so I'm going to show you guys how we list it. First things first, you're going to want to take some pictures of it. All right, guys, as I told you before, we do go ahead and take our photos first, and then we list our items later on in the day. It's just called batch photographing. So then whenever I go in to list the item, I just Google Lens the image or the photo that I took earlier on in the day to list the item. Make sure you take your photos first. I'm going to show you how I photograph this item right now, you guys, and then we'll go ahead and import the measurements for it. First, you're going to go into your phone. Make sure you are in square mode. So click that down arrow, 4:3 square. And I'm going to show you exactly how we usually take our photographs. We do have a light box that we usually use for most items, but this large item like this isn't going to fit inside our light box. So we use just a whiteboard with a stronger kind of whiteboard under it. And we just back it up to our wall right here and it works just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and start shooting some of these pictures. So whenever you are photographing, you just want to make sure you get all angles of the item. So I kind of just move things around. And then make sure you get a front shot. And make sure you picture any and all flaws. Now my husband already took these photos earlier on in the day, so he's got better photos of this item. I'm just doing a little demonstration for you guys. But here's what his photos look like. Just make sure you picture any and all flaws. Just like that. Now that I have my photographs of the item, I'm going to go into Google Lens, which I'll show you right here. When I list hard goods, I just go into the eBay app and use their photo or search bar. You can go ahead and take an image of the item you're wanting to look up, or you can just use the picture. I prefer using the eBay app whenever I'm looking up hard goods opposed to Google Lens, just because it's more straight to the point. This is going to bring up your item and then it's going to show you which ones are active on eBay, just like we did with the t-shirt or the sweatshirt, you guys. You're going to filter to sold completed, and this is going to show you what this item sold for in the last 90 days. And again, you do the exact same thing that we did for the t-shirt. You're going to pick one that is most similar to yours. Click on it and you're going to click sell one like this. Then all you do is just put in your pictures, fill out the details. Remember, make sure you enter any and all flaws. Don't forget to fill out the details in the custom SKU. That's where it's located, the date that you listed it, and how much you paid for it. Don't forget to set your price slightly higher. Hey guys, now we're at the point to put in measurements for this item and the weight. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Now with the larger items, I do typically measure them so I know what box we're going to use. We do get small, medium, and large boxes from Walmart. We do continue to get those boxes because we can choose between one of those 3 boxes this item is going to fit into. Now our smaller hard goods, we do get our boxes from Dollar Tree's cardboard dumpster. And when you're first starting out, you want to make sure you're measuring and weighing your items and then add an inch or 2 or a pound or 2 depending on the item. You just want to account for the shipping materials that you're going to use. If you were just going based off the item's measurements itself and the weight, it's going to end up costing you because you didn't account for the shipping materials that you plan on using. So keep that in mind. So this item is just a little bit over 17 inches by 17 by 10, which this guy does fold down. And then thickness or width wise, it is 10. So 17 by 10 by 10. All right, guys, when we ship this item out, this is the box that we're going to use. It is 19 by 14 by 17, and we will cut it down whenever we put the item in it. So we save ourselves some measurements. But this item is definitely going to fit inside this box. Back into our listing, we're going to import the weight and measurements. I put this at 8 pounds, and then the measurements I put 19 by 14 by 14 because it's most likely going to be 19 by 14 by 10 or 12 whenever we ship this out. If you are just starting out, you may not have the option to promote, so keep that in mind if you don't see the promote button, but we do always promote every single item. It doesn't matter what it is or how quickly the item is supposed to sell. When this item sells, eBay will take 5% of the total sale. eBay will also take the fees that comes along with listing items on eBay. Each category is different, so keep that in mind also when you are promoting. We are not only paying the promotional fee, but we are paying eBay's value fee. Now, if you're shipping something smaller, such as, this measuring tape or this doll, say we're shipping this doll, we'll just measure it. It is 12 by 4 by 2. So I would put 15 by 12 by 6. It weighs probably about 2 pounds, and I would list it at 3 pounds. Again, you're over measuring and overweighing slightly. All right, guys, I do have a bunch of shipping videos over how we ship items out, the boxes that we use, and all that good stuff. You can check out some of those on my page. That's pretty much it. You have your account set up. You have the supplies to get it all shipped out. You have your items, and now they're active and live. You're just waiting on a buyer to purchase them. When it comes to listing your items, you guys, there's important things to remember. Make sure you are taking good photographs. And if you are starting to go thrifting or yard sales, estate sales, online sourcing, make sure you're picking up items that are selling. Make sure whenever you go to find that item that you plan on picking up, it's sold in the last 90 days on eBay. That's going to help prevent you from getting stuck with a lot of inventory that's just not moving. Don't be tripping, it's just flipping.